when you're driving around, do you slow down when you spot a road worker? Not just when the signs tell you to drop your speed from 60, say, to 40 or 30, but even when you're driving past anyone who's working on the side of the road. 7 workers have been injured on Tasmania's roads as a result of crashes at roads work sites since 2005. And 2 road workers have been killed in the past 7 years. Now there's a campaign. It's been launched and it's aimed at reminding you to pay attention and drive carefully and slow down when people are working on the roads. Here's a little taste.
There's a lot of people working on our roads, isn't there? My daddy says that we should all be road worker aware. Slow down and take care. If you get angry, anything could happen. How do I know this? My daddy's a road worker who was just doing his job. He never said his job could be dangerous. If you get frustrated, you may not do the right thing. And anything can happen. How hard is it to slow down? I miss my daddy.
Your speed is our safety.
Have you seen that ad on TV? Maybe you might have heard it somewhere, seen it online. Camille O'Meara is the Secretary of the Traffic Management Association of Australia. She's also General Manager of Asset Services at Stornoway, which is a Tasmanian company that designs, builds and maintains civil infrastructure throughout Australia. Camille O'Meara, thank you for your time today. How bad is this problem?
Thank you, Lucy, and thanks for having me. Look, it's a chronic issue in our industry, unfortunately. We have people on the roads every day who experience near misses and issues with traffic, just not slowing down during roadworks. And it's, I guess, not just on construction sites, but we often have people on the roads to do either maintenance or emergency work, where it's not well known necessarily in advance that they'll be on the roads. And unfortunately, our crews experience this daily.
The ad there kind of indicated from the little girl's voice that people get angry when they see this type of stuff, maybe because it might slow down, getting from A to B. Is that what you're hearing?
Look, I think that we all experience a frustration in our delay. We live in a world where there is a level of immediacy at all times. And the hassle or the frustration of having to slow down is, I guess, a contributing factor. But I also think that there's a lack of understanding that this is actually a workplace. We might work in an office or we might work in a building or, even outside on a controlled environment. But unfortunately, our roads are a bit more of an uncontrolled environment, where the unexpected can happen, and that level of unpredictability about what can happen on a road, even when there's no roadworks, adds to the level of danger in this type of workplace.
So are people not slowing down even when there are signs that say, 40 or, even 20? Are people not taking notice?
Yeah, look, we typically don't try and slow people down to 20. Generally, people are asked to slow down to 40. We've got a level of non-compliance that's a real concern. The Tasmanian Police have been a wonderful support to the industry, recognising the hazard that speeding through roadworks creates for not just the road workers and the traffic controllers who are trying to slow people down, but also for the motorists themselves. There's nearly always a legitimate reason why drivers are being asked to slow down. Recently we had a roadwork site where in less than 2 hours, 17 drivers were caught doing over 20 kilometres an hour over the posted limit. So that would suggest if it was in a 40 zone, you've got at least 20 people, doing 60 or more through that site. and the hazard that creates, particularly when it's heavy vehicles, is really significant for our workers.
Mm. A caller says that the problem is not helped when roadwork signs and lower speed limits are left out when no roadworks are going on. They say it can confuse drivers and make them feel complacent. What's your response to that?
Oh, look, I would absolutely agree, and that's why the Traffic Management Association of Australia really is working on harmonisation of what happens on our road sites. So what signs are left out, what's the appropriate distance between them. Unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of regulation in the industry, and so you've seen people with very limited qualifications putting out signs that have been non-compliant and leaving them there. So as an industry ourselves, we have to lift our game, but the Traffic Management Association of Australia is working really hard with our members on that. And I think that the sites that are presented to the public by the TMAA member companies are generally, pretty compliant.
Camille O'Meara is my guest. She's the Secretary of the Traffic Management Association of Australia and General Manager of Asset Services at Stornoway. And we're talking about speeding around road workers. What are some examples you've heard, Camille, from road workers in Tasmania?
Well, I guess if I can take you back to where the ad came from, Stornoway had 3 near misses that could have led to potential fatalities. So the ad came to Tasmania after being developed in the Northern Territory and came to Tasmania with a collaboration between Stornoway, the Traffic Management Association of Australia, the Road Safety Council, RACT, and the Department of State Growth. They've been fabulous supporters of the campaign because we had 3 incidents that actually could have had Stornoway employees killed. So we're really keen to look at what we could do to raise awareness of drivers going through these sites. We have seen some positive response from the first ad that's been airing for a few years, but we recently have had employees almost knocked over. We've had our organisation's had the door of a truck blown off by a speeding truck through a work site. And you can imagine if you're standing by the road with no barrier between yourself and a passing car, that can be a really dangerous and scary situation. We have reports regularly from our employees on a weekly basis of near misses or speeding in the work sites. So really the first response for us is to assess whether we can continue to work and what mitigation we can put in place, such as asking the police to attend the site and do some speed monitoring and the like.
Can people be booked? Can people get fines if they are doing over the limit?
Absolutely. So these are signs that advise you of the speed that you're allowed to travel, just like any other speed sign. So, yeah, unfortunately, I think there's been some question about that in the past, but most definitely drivers can be charged with speeding offences in roadwork sites.
Do road workers take down registration sometimes and pass it on to the police?
Yeah, that can happen, absolutely, and we encourage that to happen where there's issues and incidents. Particularly, we've had issues with stolen cars, for example, speeding through work sites to evade police. And quite often there's police surveillance of roadwork sites. And additionally, there can be dash cams and the like that can record these incidents as well.
Billy's made an interesting point. Billy from Clifton, he says, I absolutely slow down always, but when there are no road workers or work in progress, the signs should be covered. I drive north for work a lot, and it's so frustrating having to do 60 or less for a long time with not a worker in sight. Perhaps fines to the construction company if they leave their signs up when not in use. I guess, though, is it important that we should still be doing the speed limit even when there's no roadworks in sight? Is it because, you or your car could be damaged?
Yeah, absolutely. So quite often there's a hazard that you might not get from your perspective of sitting in the vehicle. And so sometimes speed reductions are kept in place after hours, and they are very much for the protection of the driver who's travelling that road. That said, as an industry, we need to ensure that we are best practice, and where we can bring the speed up, that we do so. And Billy's right, any existing speed signs within a work site do need to be covered. And yes, we do need to bring the speed back up where we can after hours. Where it is kept down, it's kept down so that we're protecting the public.
It's 5:18. Camille O'Meara is my guest, Secretary of the Traffic Management Association of Australia, also General Manager of Asset Services at Stornoway, and we're talking about speeding or going maybe over or under the limit when you pass road workers. Just finally, Camille, I've noticed that some road workers wear white rather than fluoro. What happens there? Is that just to make them even more noticeable?
Yeah, so generally white is worn by workers during night works. So often the white reflects a lot better of a night. So that's definitely something that you may see if you're travelling around at night.
Thanks so much for your time today, Camille.
Thank you, Lucy. I really appreciate it.